What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to talk about something really interesting. So I think I found the next card people are going to be whining and complaining about restricting. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So the next big card people are probably going to start complaining about is an EX7, actually. And the reason for this is because it's so generic that it's so splashable, and it's going to be annoying to play around because of how it is. And that is the new Shoto Kazama. So the first effect is quite fair. The one that says start of your main phase. If your opponent has a Digimon, gain a memory. We've seen this effect 100 times over by now in this game. But it's the end of the turn effect. By suspending this tamer, one of your Digimon gains piercing and blocker until the end of a turn. If it was a Vortex Warrior trait, unsuspend that Digimon. So the biggest issue right here is not the piercing effect, because you most likely will never get this off. It's the fact that you give a generic blocker. So the other counterpart was Tai Kamiya. So if I could spell Tai. Back in BT12, they released Tai Kamiya. A just simple generic black tamer that was restricted to, guess who? Restricted to Greymon. So it's the start of main phase, and on play, it's for Agu and Greymon, and just gave a generic blocker until the end opponent's turn. And plus a DP boost. So it kind of made sense where this was going to go. Right, that eventually we would get one that would do the same thing for another color. Well, Shoto decided to skip color restriction base or even theme base and just went like, I'm going to be just generically good. So now when we take this into account, we don't take into account that the card's start of main phase is the problem. It's the end of your turn problem. So now this gives decks that originally didn't have access to blocker more ways to Sunday to get that. And then it creates interesting lines of play decks that we weren't originally going to see. You know, to be honest with you, I expect Shoto to see more competitive play than any other card in EX7 right now, to be straight honest with you. Because if you even take into account, players are starting to do this with it. Where's Reaper? They're using Mother D Reaper as a valid target to make this thing a 15k blocker. Most decks can't even get over that wall. So there's decks that run like the Etamon. So this Etamon here is what people are starting to tag it into. So they'll use Mother D Reaper for the blocker, slam down Etamon on your Digimon, and then force your attacks to come through, and then immediately blast ace into something that'll help clear the board. So that might be a Valkyrie ace, that might be a Vikemon, or it might be any other possible level 6 ace that Etamon can definitely go into without issue. Like even Mega Gargo ace they'll go into. Is the deck overly powerful? I don't think so yet, but it is one of those annoying decks that really can pop up into a local scene and really frustrate you if your deck isn't equipped to deal with it. And I'm really going to say this right now, with Mother D Reaper unaffected by your effects, you can't bring her down. So 15,000 DP base you got to get over, and her constantly just breathing down, and they'll promote multiple Mother D Reapers, so they'll have a wall of blockers as long as they keep slamming down Shotos. That can lead to being a lot of problems because a lot of decks can't climb over it, and making that wall estimate is really a problem sometimes. But if we take a look right now, Shoto is nothing really expensive. We kind of expect this. The ulti will be probably like $28 to $30, if not more. But just because right now, cards that are being employed together with it, like I said, Mother D Reaper, people are going right for Lucimon right now, and that's huge. They're using like Cherubimon Ace, because if you combo it with Mother D Reaper and you slam down another body, now you're minusing DP off of Digimon, making them smaller and easier threats. Levia, because Levia can be very scary. 7 Great Demon Lords are kind of what they're implying here. You know, all this stuff that can lead to being very scary, because 7 Great Demon Lords like to slam down a boss Digimon almost every turn. So if they're slamming down one that has instantly a blocker attached to it, you're going to get some decent value. So let's just take a look here. Even just like this here, the Sun and Moon deck, aka Dawn and Dusk, they're starting to play Shoto because now their bosses doesn't have to rely on Diana. Now they can just set up with Mirage or anything else that might benefit them and just have a decent blocker set up at all times. And that really does matter sometimes. And I think also blue armors have been starting to tech Shoto, if I remember correctly. If not, I'm completely off. No, they're not teching Shoto. I thought I saw a few Shoto lists with blue armors just to give another blocker on board, but no, most of the decks you're starting to see is, it was really intended for Vortex, you know, just so that's why the keyword's underneath there. But because of the generic C, we're going to see a lot of him being splashed in. And then you're going to have to play around it, like 7 Great Demon Lords here. They're going to play Emperors plus the Shoto. Shoto will keep their Digimon on board at all times, and now your opponent has to deal with it. And that's kind of scary at the end of the day, if we take even further looks and stuff like that. We're going to take a look here. Shoto blockers with Lucimons and Lady Lilithmons and everything else. You know, this is what the deck's going to start becoming because the combination of Shoto is just that powerful. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think it's good to see decks kind of just start evolving. But the major thing we have to take into account is that Shoto is going to do something. Shoto is going to be one of those prevalent cards for a while, especially in big dumb decks that just want to slam down big bodies that, again, before you could just ignore the bodies that gets thrown down. Now you have to be like, well, I need to answer this thing because I can't rush it down. And that's a major issue at the end of the day. So if you're taking that into account, even this thing here, which is the big Omni control deck, they're starting to play it too, because why not? They get some decent value out of it. They play big dumb guys all day long. Use Edamon to kind of just go into your Blast Ace, Vikemon Ace, or the Mega Quagamon Ace, and then you're kind of good. And then they use Mother D Reaper to promote up so that the Shoto will give them blockers so that your opponent can't just easily target your other guys. And then boom, you're kind of in a good spot. This makes your opponent have to play around you more and more, and it gets annoying pretty quickly. And I feel like a lot of players are going to start complaining about this because of its genericy. It's going to be splashed in almost every deck. Yes, it's not going to be searched very often, so you have to hard draw it. But let's be honest, how often do you not get the card you need at some point in the game, especially a combo piece? They'll up the ratios and do some crazy shenanigans, but at the end of the day, we have to take this into account that the card is a good card. And, you know, even like looking at the Lucimon decks here. Yep, Shotos and Lucimon. So, look at that. Shoto here, Lucimon. They made a complete deck that's playable with the Shoto combination with Lucimon. Lucimon wasn't doing anything before, now it is. Like, I'm being strictly serious. They started making the deck work with the Shoto. And as I told you before, that earlier deck, I think there's going to be a lot more decks if you take a look. Yep, Shoto in the 7 in Nature Spirits, because why not? And they're playing big dumb dummies that they're going to want to use the effects with. Now it makes your opponent have to play around and be smart, and nothing wrong with that. I think the fact that he's just uberly splashable is the big issue at the end of the day, that his generic C is just ridiculous. And I know that people are going to go like, oh no, I'm complaining about another card. No, I'm not. I'm just saying this one's going to probably be complained at. I like that it's creating unique deck strats that weren't there before, but it might get out of hand eventually when decks need to now be faster than what they used to be. So be ready for decks like that to constantly be piling up and just showing up. I mean, I don't know every kind of possibility this deck's going to do, but I know people are going to start complaining about it eventually. The card is going to do something. I think even what, Feng Long is going to start playing Shoto? I wouldn't be surprised if Feng Long plays Shoto. So stuff like this we need to take into consideration when future stuff, and I'm ready for complaints, and I'm going to be the first one to say, pointing up and going like, I told you guys, because I think this is one of those cards people are going to want to complain about. And don't get me wrong, really solid card, really good. I think it was really well designed. I think the problem comes down to is a generic save. And I'm just waiting for people to cry and ban this card, because they're going to be playing against decks that they're not going to want to play against. And that is the truth. But guys, what did you think of this video? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.